Välkommen upp, Jonathan Bean.
Thank you. I just wanted to find out, Per, have you caught up with Per Lagerström?
I haven't found him yet.
Where are you, Per? Put your hand up. Can't see you. You need to catch up with that man. First of all, I just want to do something. You've just come back after coffee. Can you please all get up on your feet? On your feet. This is the last session of the day. Turn around. Let's get some life into you and sit down. Great stuff. Ah, are you ready for me now? Good stuff. Is this the right flicker? Let's see. The future is here. God, terrifying. What a terrifying topic. When I was asked, I said, Jonathan, can you go on and do this thing and we can predict the future? Being a fortune teller certainly isn't in my job description. And Per referred to 15 years experience. And I actually, maybe many of you feel the same way, that I don't actually think that in this world necessarily 15 years of experience or 20 or 25 years experience is any benefit for where we're going. But nonetheless, I'll give it my best. I guess what I can do is take some comments, some personal comments from my own life, but more importantly, some comments that, thanks to you guys actually, who were the first early adopters of my news desk in Sweden, we now have 25,000 companies working with us globally. And we've assembled the thoughts of all of that community. And I'm going to run through some trends with you guys that have that. But for me, there's one major trend, I think, that will dominate all these trends that we're going to talk about. And this is this. Not three monkeys. The trend is human behavior. I couldn't find a slide that actually denoted human behavior best. And for me, really, I think 2012 will be the year of us communicators and us marketeers actually fully understanding human behavior. There were two bright moments. I hope I have more than 2 bright moments in a year, but there were definitely 2 moments this year where I realized that behavior for me is key. One of those moments was we were doing a PR and digital masterclass where we take companies from an analog world to a digital world, and it's quite a painful process sometimes. Some of you might associate with that. We mapped out everyone's days. And everyone's days, we mapped out things like going to the toilet, having breakfast, having lunch. And we also mapped out where those people were actually connected, where their connected lives interacted with their actual physical activities. And the one thing I was shocked by is what an awful life we lead these days. What an awful and stressful life. And I was fascinated. Per stood up here and said to you guys, I'm really sorry about the wireless network. So for the last 2 presentations, it's the first time in about 2 years when I haven't sat there and tweeted and half paid attention to the organisation or the presentation. It added value to my life. It added value to my behaviour. And so don't apologise. You know, I think we're doing you a favour by shutting down the internet. Another thing actually hit me, talking about human behaviour, and it was a completely offline experience, and you'll learn that this presentation very much will be about connecting the digital with the physical. Like many of you here, I guess, today, I sometimes struggle with being a great father of 3 kids. I often fail at doing that. A fantastic lover. I often fail at doing that, although I have 3 kids, so maybe that's, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Being good at, in the workplace, yeah. Sometimes I'm good there, sometimes I'm not. But I struggle, I received a physical letter the other day. It was a letter, and I opened it up, and it was some press clippings about fatherhood, about what you should do as a new man or as a supportive husband. Not a great lover, actually, but definitely lots of things about a great father. And it was from a woman that's not on Facebook, that's not on Twitter, that's not even on the internet. That woman is my mother. And she wanted to share something with me. She knows me. She knows my life challenges. She knows my behaviour, both good and bad, and she wanted to share something of value with me. And it takes me back actually to a blog post that the head of Cisco's social media outfit, John Edhard, wrote about 6 months ago. He said, actually, my mum invented social media. It's all about sharing. It's about understanding behaviour. And I think if we can get our minds round that, not necessarily the content, not necessarily the technology channels, not necessarily all of the goings on in our organisation, but truly understand behaviour, we're really getting there. And so these 10 trends we're going to go through, just be thinking, what does this have to do with behaviour? How can we connect this to the behaviour of the people that we're trying to talk to? And as I said, many of the things have been talked about here today, but we'll flip through some of them. First one I want to talk about is actually having a digital-first strategy. So these relationships we talk about, these influencers, we know we're moving from this analog world to this digital world, and it's a challenging one. We know that we're now in a world where journalists are becoming social. We have the emergence of the social journalist. Anyone that's read Jeff Jarvis's book, What Would Google Do, would notice his comments that says actually involving the people in journalism is going to be the key thing. It's going to make journalism and the media more expansive and less expensive. And I take the same in the PR and communications world. Involving your crowd, your people, your influencers will make your work more expansive and less expensive. And media houses, sure, they have their challenges these days. They are reverse engineering their businesses. So many advisors that are going in and advising, where the hell do we, or how the hell do we make this business model work going forward? Many of them are reverse engineering their businesses. So they're actually taking out what's core to them. This is a scary thing, and what's core to media businesses is content. Take away that content, and what do you have left? You have a brand that both advertisers and users or readers trust. You have journalists that advertisers and readers trust. What are you going to do with those? And I think sometimes as PR professionals, as marketeers, we actually need to think about that as well. How are we going to re-engineer our business? And I think we need to think about that in the digital light. If you think about what's core to us, what is core to us? When I talk to many communicators all over the world, doesn't really matter where it is, a lot of them say, my relationships with key journalists, that's core to my business. Sure, it is now. But I'm not so sure whether that's going to be the same in the future. Also, when we talk about content, whether it be press releases or blogs or photos or your website or stuff like that, if we take those two things out, what have we got left? We've got our stakeholders. We've got our influencers. We've got our employees. We've got our customers. We've got our partners. How are we truly involving these people in our organisation? And I think that is a crucial element to work out in a digital-first environment. How are we making these influencers or users power users? How are we getting them to tell our story for us? Moving on. The decentralization of social media. I just want to have a show of hands here. How many people in the room think that social media is decentralized across their whole organization? Fantastic. Where are you from? Viasat. Oh, we love Viasat. Well done. And so, what's 700 people here, one person that thinks it's decentralized. Wow, we've got some work to do. If you look at organizations that are successful in social media all over the world, let's talk Dell, let's talk Cisco, let's talk Intel, let's talk Starbucks, whoever that is, it's that they've actually truly understood that it's not about keeping control of that social media presence. And I think this is a really contentious issue because when social media first came on the scene, it was all about risk. Companies said, should we really be there? Are our customers there? Can we really trust these non-marketeers to tell our story? And of course, the key in understanding this is that actually we need to trust our people. Because just like in the physical world, our organizations and our brands will be defined by the people that surround us. That is a really important concept, I think, to get our hands around. You know, it's about people. It's not about logos, as Anna very rightly said, about the humanization of PR. But control is an issue. We're still all wanting to control that message. And I think a fascinating guy on this is a guy called Paul Holmes of the Holmes Report. Some of you guys will follow the Holmes Report. He's based in the US. But he said, actually, no longer do companies want a consistent message. Because actually, companies and organizations are full of all sorts of voices. So actually, that consistent message is just not authentic. We're not actually letting all of the voices across those companies have a say. And I think it's crucial that we do. And as communicators, we need to, as I said, put trust in these people, but realize that actually our job now is not necessarily one of external communication. It's about enabling communication within the organization, and it's about communicating shared values across this organization so you can get these employees telling the best stories. That, for me, is crucial. And lots of people say to me, our employees just can't do social media. Forget about it. And I say to them, you don't have a social media problem. You have a hiring problem. So that's crucial. Let's move on to the next one. I get by with a little help from my friends. Sorry, you'll have to put up with some of these musical analogies. So we've all heard about user-generated content. Some of us have gone out there and got some, but I truly believe that 2012 will be the year of digital storytelling. And as I said, if we can all use the crowds that surround us to tell our story for us, or the influencers, as Joanne put it, then we'll all be a lot better off. But of course, we need to find those influencers first. We need to find that crowd to tell our story for us. And I'm not going to go over what Christopher has said today and the great stuff that Joanne has been talking to us about. One thing I would say is I love Southwest Airlines in the US, their thinking on this, or their mindset on this, which is every tweet is a story. And they had a fantastic story the other week of a guy who got engaged on a plane. And he just tweeted out that, you know, he'd got engaged in a plane and it was the happiest day of his life. And the marketing and communications picked that up and ran with a great story. And from then on, they've actually said, every tweet is a story. So let's hope you're looking out there, not just in your organizations, but across the Twitter sphere for those stories. Of course, with Facebook tagging coming up, now every product can be tagged on Facebook. So your friends and your friends of friends and your networks will be very important in spreading your message. I'm not quite sure how that one's going to work out, but I think it's important to follow. But my biggest thing with friends and with user-generated content is looking at brand authenticity. When is a brand doing it right? When is a brand doing it wrong? And I've actually chosen a couple of examples here, a couple of videos from Coca-Cola. Fortunately, Adam has assured me that none of these campaigns he worked on himself. But let's take a look at these two videos.
It's my dream to see the world.
It is like a dream come true.
You can't put your finger on one thing that you're the most excited about.
We're going to 206 countries in 365 days in search of happiness.
Expedition 206.
So this right here is where all the streets in Spain start. This is 0 kilometers. It's kind of fitting because this is where we start as well.
We're Expedition 206 guys. We've been traveling to...
Last year, I turned 29 years old. I was feeling a bit frustrated with life, and I figured that I could use a change of pace to get a new perspective on things. So I decided to give up everything, to travel around the world for 1 year, and do some of the things that I've always wanted to do before I turned 30. I documented my entire journey here on YouTube, and I wanted to make one final video to summarize my trip in a lighthearted way. Now, since Coca-Cola is something that's easy to find pretty much anywhere in the world, I thought it would be a fun idea to buy a Coke in every country that I visited this year.
So there we go, two videos. So tell me, first video, who found that most engaging? Few? Second video, who found that most engaging? There you go, you're right. So there we go, we had a program from Coca-Cola, Expedition 206, where they themselves, as the brand, hired 3 backpackers to go around the world and have a great time and post loads of great content. But that was them. Then we had this guy, Dwayne Pereira from Edmonton, Canada. And he just got dumped by his girlfriend. And he decided to get into debt, $27,000, go around the world, but he thought it would be fun to connect this with Coke. Not around the world, 36 different countries. But I think the results are really telling here. And now I have to consult my screen, because we've all been taught by Adam this morning that it's subscribers that really count, not views. But Dwayne, or Coke themselves, for that project, had 100,000 views and 900 subscribers. Dwayne himself, in his own project, had 500,000 views, 3,000 plus subscribers. For me, you know, that's just natural. It's just more engaging. It's not the brand. But the real failure there is that there's really been no discussions between Coke and Dwayne about how they can use that material. And all I'm saying is when we're talking about, you know, getting a little help from our friends, let's make sure that if there is good user-generated content out there, let's go and embrace that content and use it. Don't fear it, which I think a lot of people are doing. Next one. Customize this. I'm not going to spend too long on this, but I think the whole idea behind this, Christopher mentioned it this morning, he starts his day with Flipboard. There are so many other news services out there, from Zeit or Pulse or Truve, or there are lots and lots of services, and news really is becoming more personal. It's not about you going out there and finding news. News will find you. News will find you through your social network. And certainly myself, I can see that, you know, of course the first page I look at in the morning now is Facebook. All of the media that I like and engage with is on that, and that's how it's finding me. And all of the news that I'm really interested in, what my friends are reading, not necessarily what a news editor tells me they're reading. And believe me, that makes a very difficult discussion. My news desk is owned by a large Norwegian media house, and when I sit down and have these discussions with editors and people that have worked in newspapers for 25 years, they hate us. But, you know, that's the way the world is changing. So really about thinking about personalized news, and again, thinking about how we build our network around ourselves to ensure that that news gets spread effectively. Here's a big one, the brand news world. And this is actually just a shot from South by Southwest in the US, where this topic was actually discovered. Oh, it wasn't discovered, it was discussed, about brands becoming the media themselves. And I think this is incredibly important, because one of the major themes for 2012 will be brands becoming media themselves. And really it's about a mindset. Are we as communicators employed to communicate to a third party and hope that they'll tell our story for us? How many people in here have had a great story, they've pitched a journalist, but for some reason that journalist hasn't covered a story? Anyone been in the same situation? See? Well, I'd say take the opportunity now of 2 billion internet viewers. Tell your story yourselves. You know, many of you, I'm not going to ask you to hold up the hands, but I know some of you in here today that have moved over from the journalistic side to the dark side of PR. We'll see more and more of that happening. We're all in a search for influencers, as Joanne quite rightly said today, and they're not easy. You know, you can't just buy influencers. But if you address their information need correctly in real time, you'll start to engage with them. And whenever we talk about brand journalism, the question I get all the time is credibility. How can a brand actually be credible? We get this question a lot, particularly from media houses. And I say there are 2 ways that you can actually be credible. You can buy credibility. You can't buy influencers, but you can buy credibility. And we see brands doing that more and more and more. Editorial staffs are getting cut down and down and down. And I think those journalistic skills will be bought up by organizations. And I'm not saying that those people will necessarily be as credible, but there will certainly be credibility in them. And it just depends on what they write about. If they just start writing about that brand, no. But if they offer something of value, then that's credibility. To me also, what's more important than buying credibility, but we'll go through a little bit of that, is of course earning credibility. And it's about offering something of value, becoming a thought leader in your industry, not talking about yourself, but offering something of value. And that for me is the key thing in brand journalism. But let's just talk about a couple of examples. I mean, the people here, I think, which have done it very well this year are Cisco. They have revamped their newsroom. They crowdsourced their name on Facebook, and they're calling it The Network. They have hired journalists from the Wall Street Journal, from Forbes, from Associated Press to join their staff and actually write stories not just about Cisco, but about the industry. To become a thought leader, and it's really, really engaging stuff. Some of the stuff on that site is fantastic. And so they've done it really well, and their key tips are essentially create, curate, and share. And I think that's a really good tips for all of us, actually. Create your own content, by all means. Make sure it's good. Make sure it's not always about yourself. Curate content. Gather all that content from your industry and become a thought leader. And, of course, ensure you've got the right sharing tools in place. Another great lesson comes from Nissan, actually, who they created their own newsroom, their own 24-hour rolling news operation. And they used it to great effect in the Japanese tsunami and earthquake this year. And their attitude towards it is, we've decided that actually if we've got a story to tell, we'll tell it ourselves. They hired a guy called Dan Sloan, who was a 17-year veteran at Reuters. And he's been quoted as saying that actually traditional PR just doesn't work. It's not that sophisticated, and much of it is unwatchable and unreadable. And that's a guy that was on the other end of it for 17 years at Reuters. And I think we need to listen to him. As I said, they've hired guys from Bloomberg, from the BBC, from CNN to set up their newsroom. They're telling the story themselves. And they're using it to great effect. And their communications director, when I caught up with him, said to me, actually, you know, the newsroom is the first love child of the coupling between PR and marketing. I'm not sure he's right, but that was his take on it, and it's been very successful for them. Another great European example actually is Jyske Bank down in Denmark. They've created their own TV station, and they've actually attracted one of Denmark's leading anchor people, traditional TV anchor people, to their station. And I just watched some of their content, and it's amazing. It really is great stuff. So I think it's important that we look at the opportunities there. Take a look, jyskebank.tv. I love it. Another trend, online goes offline, goes online, goes offline. It's about connecting the digital with the physical. And this one I love. This is a picture from a Swiss village called Übermütten in Switzerland, obviously, in Swiss. These guys, just a few weeks ago, actually, they opened their Facebook page, and they decided that actually a lot of these inhabitants of this Swiss mountain village don't have the internet. They're not on Facebook. So all of the fans that the village got, they decided to print them out and put them on a big notice board in the village. And last week, when I was sort of reading about this, because it was quite a new case, they had 2,000 fans. And a couple of days ago, I went on again, and they'd had 6,000 fans. And I know, Joanne, that numbers aren't important. I'm fully aware of this. But it's not this isn't the issue. The issue there is now they're covering whole barns of the village with these Facebook fans. And because they said that they're now part of their community. So they wanted to be properly part of their community. And I just thought this was fascinating. Again, it connects the physical with the digital. And the mayor of this commune or council is now broadcasting to these fans every week on YouTube. So I'm sure Adam can give him a few tips on that. But I just thought that was interesting. We've all talked about integrated communication for years, much longer than my 15 years in the business. But I think it will be even more crucial these days about the more and more we consume media in an offline and a physical environment, the more mobile devices that we consume. It will be important to mix both those physical and digital elements. And an interesting campaign I want to go through with you is the campaign that won the Cannes Gold Lion Prize for PR Creativity. Damn it, it was an advertising agency that won it, BBDO Melbourne. And they did it for, their campaign was for National Australia Bank. And this bank was trying to really mark a differentiation between the other 4 banks in Australia. But let's just play this quickly.
she started on Friday with what looked like an accidental tweet from a NAB employee. It read, "So stressed out, have to make a tough decision, and I know I'll probably hurt someone's feeling."
Well, no one likes to receive a Dear John letter announcing a breakup, especially when it's published in the papers for the world to see.
I can't be around you anymore. Enjoy your ride. Yeah, right.
Nowhere was safe from the blitz by the newly single NAB. NAB's launching a full-scale attack on its competitors.
There was even a piano man singing broken love songs outside the ANZ headquarters.
The Sky, the Street and the Net were all bombarded with messages of breakups.
This is the biggest thing we've seen in banking for a long, long time. Yours sincerely, NAB.
So there you go. I mean, and the most important thing to me there was actually the end result of it. It wasn't just the $5 million earned media and stuff like that. It was the increase in inquiries, but it mixed the physical and the digital again. And some of you might say, God, it's okay for them, National Australia Bank and you know, spending all that money. But for me, I've seen lots of really great creative campaigns out there, particularly using services like Foursquare, location-based services like Foursquare and Goala. A really favourite campaign of mine is Jimmy Choo in London, where they did a scavenger hunt across London when they launched this pair of trainers, sports shoes. And it was a really quite cheap campaign. It involved a blog and creating a Facebook community, but they used a scavenger hunt. 4,500 people took part in this scavenger hunt on Foursquare, essentially sales of those trainers went up 33%. And their challenge was that they knew that the buying of these trainers actually took place in a store. It took place in a physical environment. People didn't buy these things online, so they had to mix the physical and the digital. So a tip there would be look at services, location-based services like Foursquare and Goala, because I think you can do some really cool stuff with those services. Moving on. Joanne talked about games. Joanne talked about fun. I think this is this is one question I had for you. Who plans to gamify their communications over the next 12 months? Wow. A few people over there. Where are you from? Swedbank. Fantastic. There you go. So look out for Swedbank's gamified communications and marketing over the next 12 months. But you know, this is all about, and I'm not saying we're all going to go out there and jump about doing that, but going back to the behavior theme, understanding people's behavior. You know, I wasn't convinced about this at all until a time this year where, of course, I took part in, you know, location-based services, Goala, Foursquare, because I had to, because I work in the leadership team of a digital media company. But I thought, what is this really adding to my life? You know, rubbish. And until this summer, when I actually got to fighting over the mayorship of this little ice cream parlour where I live in Sigtuna outside of Stockholm with my family, and me and a friend are actually fighting over this mayorship. And I was reflecting to myself, you know, why am I doing this? And I'm doing it because it adds value to my life. It was fun. And what was the end result of that? Well, the end result was actually that this small ice cream parlour or shop was getting more business from me. I was becoming more engaged because my experience was becoming more gamified. Because my behaviour was being understood. I'm not saying it was being understood by this ice cream parlour, but just the fact it was on Foursquare was engaging me, was engaging my digital life. Because I think so much of my digital life is so stressful and so pressurised that if I have an outlet, it's fantastic. And I think that there was a recent study by the Harvard Business Review that said that, and and it was a review into people's life at work and what motivated them and stuff like that. And the key finding was that it was a sense of progress. A sense of progress was what drove people at work, and I think that's what gamification does. Lots of media houses are looking to this right now. I mean, I've chaired various media conferences this year, and really, when we look at how we attract and engage with users online, we look at actually taking the appearance from the glossy magazine world, the depth from the news world, and also the user experience from the games world. So I think the gamification of news is very important, and of content. There are lots of people that are doing this well, and I think BMW here in Stockholm did it fantastically at the back end of last year. Lights down again. This is the end result of it. This is the human perspective.
Det är helt döende.
Alltså ni måste ju fortsätta med det här. Det kommer inte funka utan det. Stockholm kommer bli en helt ny stad. Vad har vi blivit förenade genom det här spelet? Det är så jävla socialt. Alltså här står vi och liksom kör bara.
Jag har träffat Dennis liksom.
Ja, det är folk hela vägen. Det är liksom, vad står
upp där då?
Ja, men det står bilar hela vägen.
Gör det?
Med inlines och mopeder och gör.
Grattis!
Fortsätt upp.
Hej Joel.
Hej älskling. Jag vann bilen. Jag vann bilen. Jag ringer dig sen när jag är klar med allt här. Men jag vann bilen.
Men jag vann bilen! You see the behaviour, you see the fun, and it's all very well. You can say, you know, God, they had loads of money to spend on that campaign. But as I said, there are some very creative ways that you can use location-based services and gamifying to make people's life more fun. There's actually a communications and PR agency that I spoke to earlier this year in the US, and called Fluid PR, and they're actually gamifying the experience for journalists. Quite scary, I know. They're getting journalists to compete for information. And the journalists that compete best for information get better access to exclusive stories. They're also giving out badges to journalists on the most sensational headline or the most in-depth article. So I'm not saying that we're all going to go down that route straight away, but I think it's an interesting way of engaging journalists, or even influencers, I think, for sure. But just imagine taking that traditional journalist world where we're serving everything and we're begging them to cover stories to a world where they're actually competing for our content. I guess that's called engagement. Next one. We know Trends presentation for 2012 can get away from the impact of mobile. And I'm not going to talk to you about figures and, you know, how many mobile phones we've got in the developing world or in Sweden or anything like that, because, you know, boring. But I think just reflecting on that screen there and reflecting and seeing some of the devices that are being used here and here, we can reflect on a guy that's just passed away and link that certainly back to behaviour. Now, there was a guy that understood the impact of technology on people and the impact of technology on their behaviour and actually adding value to life. And I just, when I thought about this and the impact of mobile, I'm very much thinking about Steve Jobs when I do that. But there's just 3 behavioural trends, I think, that will make us all successful in mobile. The first behavioural trend is convenience. Are we making it convenient for people? Because that's what mobile does. Are we contributing to an easier way of life? Who here has done QR codes this year? Hands up. Yeah, quite a few of you. Any good? No? Yeah, I'm still a QR skeptic too, actually. Our marketing department love them, don't you, Charlotte? Yeah, yeah. We'll keep on doing it. And everywhere I go in the world, everyone's using QRs. I'm not sure why, but I can see the convenience of it. Some people say that near-field communications will take over that, where we're using our mobiles to doing far more exciting things. But again, what does QR do? QR connects the digital with the physical. And I think that that's crucially important. So convenience is one. Context. Context is another thing. Are we giving people context around their lives? Are we acting just like a good friend would do and give you the right piece of news at the right time? Are we doing that? I think that that's really important. Are we providing context to the people that we love, we like, we care about, the influencers? If we do that, and I think mobile can do that, then we're on the right track. And also, are we providing some fun? Are we making life more fun, more worth living? I'm not a depressive person, actually, but sometimes I feel when I'm connected with technology that this is drowning me. And I think if you can make life more fun for people, you're certainly on a winning strategy, and mobile makes you able to do this. This is a great thing that McDonald's did here in Stockholm. First of all, I just apologise for this guy's voice, because it's dreadful, and I think he's from where I live, but anyway, or come from, rather.
We wanted to give people an extra reason to visit McDonald's, or perhaps a reason that was extra fun. Using a large digital billboard, we created an interactive challenge where you could pick and play for your favorite McDonald's goodie. You used your smartphone to control the game. Combining new technology in a new way, we made it possible to interact with the screen without having to download any application. Simply get online and go to pickandplay.se. The phone's geolocation verifies that you are in the game area. Pick a goodie, and now steer your paddle by using the touchscreen on your phone, as you follow the game real time on the big screen. Game on, Stockholm! The game got gradually harder. If you lasted 30 seconds, you won your goodie of choice.
Yeah, I'm going to stop it there, actually, because then they just go and buy loads of hamburgers, and it just really, isn't quite as nice. Actually, what struck me there was all the great sunglasses you have there in Stockholm, and how you're all such hipsters down there in Stureplan. But actually, moving on. But actually, just that campaign was providing fun. And using mobile to do that, and I think it's something we should all do. Again, it doesn't all have to be about going and hiring a screen in Stureplan and doing it to that. You can do some very creative things with some of the platforms that are out there, but just think about that element of fun. Next one I'm going to rush through very quickly. In the eye of the beholder, a couple of new things that I've seen that I think are very exciting. One of them is a company that boasts among its investors the founders of Facebook, the founders of YouTube, and the founders of Groupon. It's a company called Quickie, Q-Wiki. And they seek to provide an information experience by providing narrated and visual stories on the web. Go and have a look, because I think it's a very interesting company. Again, it's providing an interactive and engaging experience for people. There's been a lot of hype in the US about this particular startup. My best guess is it will be acquired by one of the big boys. But it's an interesting way of getting your content out there and having it searched for. Another one is just augmented reality. And I guess all of you have heard about augmented reality. When I first heard about this 2 years ago, I thought, this is a crock of crap. This is never going to be relevant to our world. And I still struggle to see where it is going to be relevant to our world. But when we think about the connection between the digital and the physical, and fun and behaviour, I'm looking at Joanne here because she's taken the piss out of augmented reality on a few things, haven't you? It has good uses, okay. But this is a project called Augmented Cinema, and right now it's just a project because its major challenge will be getting permission from film studios to use their copyright. But hey, that was the challenge with Spotify in the beginning, wasn't it? With the music labels, labels would never play ball. Look what's happened now. But this gives users the ability to go all over the UK actually at the moment and use their mobile to see where film clips are made. But just take a look.
Thinking of a world in the light of the sun, and all the many lives that were ever begun, ever begun.
So sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm really sorry. I live. Each day goes, there's another one.
So we get cleaned up.
I just need to get my car back. Another one.
I've never used the visitors entrance before.
How many people will we feed today? How many lips will we kiss today? If we wake up, how many worlds will we ever see? How many people can we ever be? If we wake up.
There you go. I thought I had to put some London things in because I give this presentation all over the place and it can't all be too Swedish-based, can it? But it's just a sense of what is possible, which I think is important for us to consider. And this is the last one, hopefully. The last one. And we've talked about it all today. Content is king. But it is the people's kingdom. We've talked about personal PR with Anna. We've talked about influencers with Joanne. Christopher's talked us through everything about the Explore and the network feature and building a community and a network around our content. And I think that's the final message I want to leave with you, really, that it's about understanding our people. It's about going out there and finding this community, identifying with them, engaging with them, and embracing the brand, actually, not as this media-centric object that we're controlling, but giving over that brand to the crowd that surrounds it, because we are now defined by the people that surround us. It now really is truly about people-to-people communication. I'll leave you with a quote from Google, actually. There's a great project called Thinking with Google, Think with Google, and they've just recently put out their People Edition. And they've said that information is inseparable from the people that create it. I would actually say that information is inseparable from the people that surround it. And for those of you guys that are marketeers and communicators, if you can take that thought and understand the behavior of the people that surround it, then you'll definitely be a winner in 2012. Thanks very much.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
Happy?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, good.
I don't really count, actually.
Well, you do.
But, okay.
Everybody else, what do you guys think? You ready for this? Jag får prata engelska med er. Jag kan prata, det blir så jobbigt med språket nu.
Ja, blandat.
Blanda?
Ja,
okay.
Det funkar.
Så är ni redo för det här då? Ja, vad bra. Är det några frågor för Jonathan? Så var 6 sekunder, sa Joanne. Så jag tar den så länge så kan ni fundera lite.
Okay.
A lot of changes for communicators, and they have to kind of rewire themselves and consider, do you think that everybody, because we talked about it, do we have to employ new people? Because it's been an employment issue quite a lot in here today. Or can you actually relearn? What do you think?
I think it's quite interesting, actually. I talked to a lot of media houses, actually, which are transferring people from their print side to their digital side and actually rewiring their brains. I think people are essentially, you know, if they're great people, if they have a sense of fun, and if they're really engaged in your business, it doesn't really matter, you know, what type of people that they are, that they can really contribute. But the thing is the mindset. The thing really is the mindset. If they have the wrong mindset, if they're not prepared to move into that digital mindset and they say, you know, I've been schooled in marketing or PR and this is the way we do it, and I want to, you know, I actually call them when I talk to digital organisations, if you're digital deniers and you've only got 10 years to your retirement, then you're fine. You're fine staying as a digital denier. Just stay there. It's okay. But if you've got more than 10 years to your retirement, then you need to actually change that mindset. But I think people fundamentally are either you know, I actually think that people fundamentally are good. So if they're good people, they'll work in an offline or an online world.
Should we tell them our secret?
What is our secret?
Our pre-My Newsdesk secret.
Well, that we're both really dinosaurs.
We're dinosaurs in our company.
Dinosaurs.
We never done anything social until we started a company. A year and a half, 2 years
speak
ago.
For yourself. I was very social, but just not online.
Not online, yeah, of course, that's true. So if we can do it, anyone can, that's for sure. So are there any questions? No? No.
They're tired. They want to go for a drink. They want to.
We have a little bit of a
well done to you.
Yeah.
Round of applause for you, because you've done bloody well today.